Hey, hi everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. I, of course, have three incredible guests today, and I'm blown away every single time for when I do one of these episodes because I just don't know what to expect. And honestly, I got the best surprise today when I got the incredible Evie as well as the incredible Kevin and Katie Tsang. So thank you so much for being on my channel, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're so excited to be here.
We're very honored to be joining such an illustrious group of authors who have been on here. So thank you for having us.
Very true.
Oh my gosh. Literally, the red carpet is being rolled out for you guys. Honestly, I've hit peak now. I've hit peak. It's all downhill from here, isn't it? Like, after today, it's just not going to happen anymore. But anyway, to all the people who are tuning in, thank you so much for tuning in. This will be a spoiler-free discussion on the Dragon Realm series, and we are celebrating the Yes, I don't have my copy of Dragon Legend yet, and I'm so desperate for it. It looks so good.
Very, very beautiful. So
it is.
But it's coming out next week. So this is our celebratory pre-launch celebration with Gavin. This is basically what we're doing for our launch party. So
yeah, it's true.
Speaking of launch parties, because Shadow and Bone is out today, the TV series. If anyone's watching, taking a break from watching that to watch this, welcome. And I'm gonna be watching it later, so that's why I'm wearing
Getting
this.
in the mood.
I love it because one of my icebreaker questions is going to be talking about this, so I'm excited about that. However, I do have again, like, back to Dragon Legend, because that is the main priority of today. Not Shadow and Bone, Dragon Legend, but that is, I've got pre-order links in the description box, and if you pre-order from Waterstones, you do get a blue dragon scale sprayed edge as well. So I'm so excited for my copy to finally come. So that is great as well.
As authors, we had to order our own copies of the blue sprayed edge.
Oh my gosh, that is shambles. That is shambles. Waterstone should be ashamed. Anyway, so yeah, do check them out. I also have the social media links for Katie and Kevin in the description box as well, so do check them out as well. So I always start off, as people are tuning in, with icebreaker questions, which I'm sure you guys might already know. I don't think I've used any of my usual ones as well, so this is going to be totally different. And there might be one or two, but this is like, I'm really excited about these. Anyway, first one, and this is really random, and Evie as well, you can answer this as well if you want, but what would be a superpower that you think other people would find boring, but you would actually absolutely love to have?
Ooh, oh my goodness.
I've already stumped you. It's the first question.
Well, I was thinking of a funny superpower the other day, actually, which is like every time you blink, you are completely clean. So like, instead of having to shower, you just blink and it's like, boom, you're clean. I had this because Evie was just so dirty the other day, and I was like, I wish you just blinked and you were clean. I was like, I like that power.
It was when he says dirty. Don't worry, our child is not dirty. She needed a diaper change. We'll get very Gavin was like, oh, I wish you could blink away. I don't know if that's boring, but that's definitely super weird. Yeah, you can come in. You want to join? I just think nothing I want to do would be boring. Teleport. I think teleporting would be a big one for me because I love travel when we're not in a time of COVID. And I have family and friends all over the world, so I'd love to be able to teleport for them. I think teleporting is a big one. And then I think, not to sound like a Machiavellian villain, I think mind control would be cool.
Oh my gosh.
Mind control, but like mind reading, like, you know what Professor X can do.
We're on like different levels. Like, I was like, my number 2 would probably be if like I knew all of the Excel shortcuts.
That would be super handy.
I would be the super villain. No, there's definitely. Oh yeah, I'd also probably have a lot around like housekeeping. Like, our daughter just cleaned our table. So it's all going on. Yeah, mine would be like housekeeping, like laundry and such.
Ooh, I would probably, you know what, actually, the blinking and being clean thing is so handy, though. It is super handy.
Especially in COVID times. Like, oh, I just touched something suspect. You just blink. You're like, clean.
Yeah, you're clean. You're 100% clean. Or like if I've touched a dirty book in store, you know, I don't have to sanitize my hands. I can just blink and I'm clean. And no drying as well. Like if I can not have to dry my hair. Have you seen my hair? I look like Brie Vanderkamp. Like, that's so bad.
Kevin,
That's stylish. I think Kev's looks a bit stylish.
Subjective.
He's recently had to discover that now he has to wrap in a towel after a shower because he couldn't figure out why it stayed wet
sometimes
for so long.
I found out I can be high maintenance.
Yeah.
Fair. I mean, I'm high maintenance 24/7, clean or not clean, so it's all good. Okay, right. This is right. Do one of you guys have like your phone handy? This is like a. Okay, so I mean, I'm not asking you to I'm not daring you to call anyone. If you can open your notes app in your phone.
Okay.
Do you have predictive text?
I don't think I do. Do you have predictive text?
I think I do.
Kevin might.
Oh, okay.
I turned off something. So
Yeah, go ahead.
all right, Kevin's got it.
Oh, awesome. Right. I want to find out when you type out trick or treat, smell my, what is it that we will be smelling?
Mine doesn't do it, so
I don't think mine does.
No, we're not doing that. We don't have predictive text on ours.
Let me try it.
Smell my life, heart, day. Those are my 3 words.
Oh.
Your options?
So
smell my day.
Smell my day.
Smell my heart. Trick or treat. Smell my heart.
Or smell my life.
Oh, that sounds lovely. To be honest, mine also says life. Trick or treat, smell my life. I feel. Oh, well, that was. I was hoping for something a little bit more juicy with mine, to be honest. But smell my life. I mean, my life stinks. So
I'm okay, so there's nothing to smell.
Blink. You just gotta blink, and your life will smell great.
Mine will smell of pomegranate, I think, because I don't know why, but I love the smell of pomegranate. So that's how my life will smell when I blink. Yes. It is. It's very specific. So okay, another one. If Dragon Mountain, Dragon Legend, all of the books were adapted, would you want them to be live action or animated, and B, would you like them a TV show or a movie? So like a live action TV show, live action movie, animated.
I think
what
we
pairing?
might feel a little bit differently. I would want a animated TV series a la like Avatar, Last Airbender. I think I would want, or are you singing?
I think definitely animated. I'm definitely with you on animated. I kind of teeter-totter between movie or TV
and you
series.
used to think live action, but the thing is with live action, if the CGI is bad,
it's really bad.
It's
hard to come back from.
And we've been so spoiled with our beautiful covers. You got nice background. Like, you just imagine the illustration, but an animation would just be so cool with all the dragons and all the creatures.
Oh my gosh, yes. And they're illustrated by Peter Antonsen. Is that right?
He's incredible.
Oh
He's based in the US. So when we first saw some of the sample illustrations that he'd done for us, we were absolutely just blown away.
You guys must have been so happy when you saw your covers as well for the first time.
We were amazed.
We actually, do you want to come sit here? Okay, I apologize to everyone watching for our toddler meeting wrangling. The issue when you co-write with your partner who you work with during a pandemic is you have no one to watch your children when you do events together. So Evie she's been to Edinburgh Festival, she's been to Hay. She's been on stage with me at the South Bank Center when Kevin couldn't watch her.
We've worn her actually during Samwoo presentations.
During school events, when she was tiny, we wore her. So it's just, she just comes along.
She's done more than me. She's literally done more than me. And I'm like nearly 30 here. I'm pushing 30. Like, what am I doing wrong?
We'll bring you along to the next school presentation. We'll be like, and here's Gav coming along with us. But what would we just say? What was
the TV show? Yeah.
The first time, and then the covers. The first time we saw the cover, we were actually out to lunch with our editor, Rachel Dunwood, who we adore at Simon & Schuster. And she had brought printouts give us an idea of the cover. And our agent was so anxious because she's like, what if you guys don't like the cover? She hadn't seen them yet. She's like, it's such a power move to be like, in person, boom. And we were like,
let me know what you think.
We were like, oh my God, it's so good. And we absolutely meant it as well. But I think just, who can see. I think the original one actually that they presented, it was just Spark. And we asked if we could put all 4 of the dragons on. Spark is this little blue one. We asked if we could put all 4 of the dragons because we feel like there's so many dragon books out there. And one of the things we think makes ours distinctive is there's an ensemble of dragons. Like there's 4, they're all different. Yeah, all the dragons.
Yeah.
All of them, especially Buttons as well, because Buttons is my favorite. So if Buttons wasn't on the cover, I wouldn't have. Well, I would have still picked it up, of course, but I would have been Pullman.
We love Buttons as
Buttons would have
well.
been sad.
Yeah, Buttons is a great. Buttons is this guy down here. He's the green one. He collects buttons.
Has short arms, but he makes up for it in other ways.
Oh, yeah. Yes, he does. And anyway, people adore the toilet. I feel like anybody with a kid, like anybody would understand, especially during like these times as well. Honestly, we love Evie. It's established. We love Evie. Is there anything you love that the other hates? Like, is there something like Kevin? If like, do you love something that Katie just absolutely cannot stand, or like vice versa?
You put kimchi anywhere around Katie, and it's not.
I know. I had kimchi actually today on my brunch sandwich.
Kimchi?
Yeah.
What?
I don't love. Kevin and I used to live in Hong Kong, and we were very fortunate able to travel a lot. And we went to Jeju Island, which is an island off South Korea. It's very small, and there was just like no meal that we couldn't get it without kimchi. And I'm a very adventurous eater, but I just was like, I can't eat kimchi every meal every day. And then there was a hurricane, so we got stuck. So there was a lot of kimchi in my life.
What else there might be?
No, I think that there's not loads.
Oh, you know what? There is one thing. I also love snowboarding.
Oh, if Kevin could change anything about me, and God knows there would be a lot, the biggest thing would be that he would make me love snow sports, because Kevin loves snow sports so much. And I've tried, Gav. I've taken ski lessons 6 times. Like, it's not that I'm not willing
that's
to
commitment.
Try. Yeah. I cry every time. I'm like, I'm spending so much money. I'm so cold. I'm falling over. So now our compromise is we'll still, again, when you're able to travel, we'll go on ski.
Oh, I think you froze for a sec. Sorry, I think it's just frozen for just a second. Let's see if it comes back. Oh, you moved. 2 seconds, guys. It's all good. It's all good. Anyway, yeah, the baby steals the show 100%. Evie is incredible. Evie is incredible. You see me? Oh,
yeah. And ourselves.
Oh, you're back. Oh, you're back. You're back.
Good. All right.
Oh, Phil, sorry about that. Anyway, I was saying, I was about to say, Katie, I wouldn't change a thing about you. Like, sports and all sports.
I wouldn't either.
Lies. You would make me love snowboarding.
I would make you love snowboarding. And then I wouldn't change anything else.
My brother loves snowboarding. Oh, this is a fun. Wait, are we still frozen? Are we there?
Oh, I think you're back. Yeah, I think you're back. No, it's all good.
Soon to be my sister-in-law, because for one of Kevin's 30th birthday, yeah, you get her a snack. For Kevin's 30th birthday, we did a ski trip, and Kat came, and my brother was there, and they met and really hit it off. And then they did long distance from California to Ireland for 1.5 years. And now they've been together almost 4 years, and they're engaged, and my brother lives in Ireland. So that is a good thing that came from snowboarding, because my brother.
Oh, pause for just a second again. It's all good. Oh, you're back. You're back. Yeah, you're back. I was gonna say, long distance is like so hard anyway. Like, that actually warms my heart. Like, the amount of times I've not pursued long distance, honestly, because I thought, oh, it'll never work, but that warms my heart. I'm actually really excited about that.
Yeah, it's a nice story. It's a fun, and now Kevin and I are co-writing together, and we have a new Y series coming next year. So
yeah, we're going to talk all about this. I cannot wait, because I'm sure like there's so many like of things that you guys are doing in the future that I'm so excited about. So shall we get into like the proper chat then? Because I mean, yes, like I can't wait to find out more. Well, one, about you guys as authors, but 2, like more about Dragon Mountain and Dragon Legend. And just to like tease everybody, because I have read Dragon Legend now and it was amazing. So just to tease everybody, like, let's do it. What is something, I mean, you guys, you co-write and everything. And what was it that you guys were up to before you became authors? Did you do anything, or Well, obviously you would have done something. I mean, like what was the origin story behind you two? Like, how did you like get to being co-authors?
Well, before Dragon writing books, I was probably mostly chasing Katie around, but also no, because we met in Hong Kong actually, and Katie's always wanted to be an author, but I was just doing my day job, I suppose, as a management consultant, and but I think I've always been young at heart, and it was great actually. I was always interested in the writing process with that Katie went through.
Yeah, and so before I wrote, so for anyone watching who doesn't know, I did. And is very young at heart, and I thought that we'd have a lot of fun co-writing, and I think he kind of really nails that kind of humor that you need for that age group. But before I was able to write full-time, you want to sing? She's like, I'm just gonna sing right now. Or that's like, we were doing an event with, I think you saw it, Gav. It was with Simon and Schuster. It was like a, so it was crazy. But I started it now. But I worked at the Reading Charity Book Trust, actually. And I loved that working there. I worked on a program called Letterbox Club that sends books to children in foster care. So it was a really rewarding job. I got to like know lots of different publishers. And actually that job was what inspired me to start thinking about Sam Wu, because part of my job was to review books in that age range. And I hadn't and Mountain.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's like you've got like such a backstory, like a huge like, and you've done so much as well. And like obviously, yeah, you did write YA, and then did you bring any of that to like writing with Kevin? Like, how does that kind of co-authorship work? And Tracy even asked as well, how do you write together? Do you take turns? Is it a joint effort, or how does it? Yeah. How does that work?
It actually depends on the series. So we started writing Sam Wu together, which are much shorter. I think there's 3 Sam Wu books to every one Dragon Mountain book or Dragon Realm book. And so for Sam Wu books, we do a lot of planning before we actually start writing. So we put whiteboard paper all up on our walls, and who are the characters, what's the plot, and then we essentially project our laptop up onto the TV and write everything out together. Dragon Mountain.
And we switch. We go back and forth. So one of us, it's pretty high intensity.
Yeah. Because
you get real-time feedback. So we'll go, I'll do a couple pages in a scene. And I'm going to plug in that thing that makes it.
Yeah.
We have I apologize, we keep freezing. We have a thingy, that Ethernet cord. We're going to plug that in. So maybe that'll help with our freezing issue. So Kevin is just being the dad right now, and also the IT consultant over here. So that was the way we do Sam Wu. But Dragon Mountain are so much longer, and so we had to figure out a slightly different process. So for Dragon Mountain, what we did is we did the
when it's
connecting. All right, we're back. We're on. And then we actually divide and conquer. So
there we go.
Whereas I really love doing like a lot of dialogue and character development. So Kevin does everyone's favorite scenes. Kevin's always done.
Now you mention that that you do mainly dialogue, there's something coming up that I had planned that is kind of like, I haven't told you guys, and I haven't told anybody else because it's the first time I'll do it. But yeah, I know. I mean, but now you mention that, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. Anyway, I'm not ready for that yet. I just thought I would tease you guys. Were there because you mentioned the Sam Wu series and that's ended now, right? And you did that for several years. So is there anything that you like took from writing that series that you brought into the Dragon Realm series? Maybe that you learned anything that maybe you didn't want to carry over, I guess? Like any lessons learned?
I think in terms of story, there's definitely still the same themes of friendship in both series. In terms of lessons learned, I think we do still have rules when we write in terms of the actual writing process.
I didn't talk about those actually, so you can.
Oh yeah, so we had to protect our marriage. We had to put some rules. So we don't apply this to any other part of our marriage. But if it gets heated, we put ourselves in a 5-minute timeout.
Set a timer, have a break. There's no fighting and writing.
And there's no saying or anything more colorful. Instead, it's mushroom, because I think we're both kind of iffy about mushroom, and a mushroom could turn out right depending on how you prepare it.
So if Kevin suggests an idea that I'm like, oh, I don't know how I feel about that, I'll say let's mushroom that. We also don't delete anything that the other one's written and that we write. We actually will cut and put it into a different document that we call our sandbox. And sometimes when we're drafting, the sandbox will be almost as long as the draft as we're figuring out the story. And then it's really nice because we can go back and pull from it, and it doesn't feel like any of it's wasted words. So we definitely took, even though we had to shift our process for Dragon Mountain, we definitely took a lot of, like Kevin said, our learnings, because co-writing is tricky. You have to figure out, I have a vision, Kev has a vision, how do they come together? And I think a big way about it is, what, especially the Dragon books, we outline very meticulously, even to the point that before we start drafting, we actually share it with our editors and they feed in, so everyone knows what the vibe is going to be. And then when we sit down to write, Kevin and I drill down even deeper with the outline, and we do a chapter by chapter outline, and then we're able to divide up. So I'll be like, all right, I'll do these chapters. Can you do this one? Kevin will be like, I'm really excited about these scenes. And then we'll go back and we'll swap and edit each other's work too.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I will say something we did learn from book 1 to book 2, because Dragon Mountain, when we wrote it, was just the biggest plot-wise, and just in terms, it's a much longer book than Sam Wu, so it was a much bigger project. And I think that stressed me out of it, so I really wanted to get the outline absolutely perfect. I think what I learned was actually, the end of the book, the core was still there, but actually a lot of the outline changed.
Yeah.
And so I think not to feel too strongly about any particular point if we disagree in the outline, because if the book might end up, it'll take its own story.
Yes.
What is that? Twinkle Twinkle Little Star?
Is Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Well,
I love that song. I love that song.
Yeah. It's Friday night with DJ Evie. Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
Oh my gosh! I can't wait to come down and party now. It's going to be amazing. Before I move on to any questions about the book, somebody's asked, is there any advice you have for writers hoping to be an author?
That is a great question.
I'm gonna take her for a little
swim. Yeah, I'm gonna take you on a little walk while Mama answers this question. I apologize for the hecticness of this.
We love it.
Internet's dropping out. I've got a crown on. I'm probably gonna poke Kevin accidentally. I do appreciate Gab. Kevin was really excited. He was like, "Gab's so funny. This is gonna be a really fun interview." And I was like, "It's true. You just bring a really great energy to all your interviews." So we're very excited. And thank you again to everyone for joining us on Friday night, or who watches afterwards. Advice for writers hoping to be an author. One, I love that you're already calling yourself a writer. My Twitter handle is actually K Weber Writes, and it's been like that since 2011, which was the year that I A, joined Twitter, and B, decided that I was going to take writing seriously. And it felt like a statement. Like I was like, I'm going to own that I want to be a writer. Because it's scary and it's hard. And I think we were talking, and I, like Kevin was saying, being an author has been my lifelong dream. Kevin just rode my coattails. He would say the same. Kevin and when I was trying to become an author, my YA debut was the 4th book I'd finished and the 3rd book I'd submitted to agents. And I'm one of those authors who had 160 rejections before I found my agent. My agent actually rejected me twice previously. So I really like to encourage you, one, to not give up. Oh, but Kevin has 0 rejections. Kevin just signed with Claire. Kevin sold the first book that we wrote together immediately at auction. He's had 0 rejections.
Oh my God.
So my one advice, one, own being a writer. And 2, don't give up, be persistent. It's a combination, I think, of timing, luck, and hard work. Like those three things really have to come together. Like say you've written a book about dolphins, I don't know, dolphins something, and your dream agent yesterday has just signed a book about someone doing dolphins. Or like maybe you send it to an editor and they're terrified of dolphins. Like there's so much that you don't know. Like my debut YA is about a young girl runner. Both my agent and my first two editors, unbeknownst to me, were huge runners. Like I would have no idea of knowing. So they connected to the book. Like you never know why someone will connect. And Dragon Mountain, actually, we are so happy with our editor because they have and Simon Schuster have such a vision for it. But some editors, when we went on submission, they were like, I don't get it. And I was like, what is there to get? It's a dragon adventure. But it's just so, like I said, depends on so much. So don't give up. And then everyone always says it, but read a lot. And that's really helpful.
Or marry Katie Weber, and then, she'll be a trailblazer.
Hey, that's a good shout. I mean, there's not enough Katie Webbers in the world to marry, though, is the problem. I'm sure. Katie's the only one. So you've already done that. But also, I love the fact that you never gave up as well. Like all those like rejections and stuff. I hope those people who did that are watching right now thinking, gosh damn, like regrets. And
well,
you know what
I
they should
tell Claire frequently, I'm like, do you remember you rejected me twice? She's like, yes. There was a reason. We're good.
No. Ruin the day. Yeah, they will ruin the day. So with Dragon, because you've mentioned Dragon Mountain being something that people maybe didn't get if it, like that when they said, oh, like what's to get? Like it's a fun adventure, action-packed, and I feel like just reading it myself, yeah, it's really fun, but I feel like in the world there are like rules and things. So like there is like there's a building story, a huge building story, and it's one that I'm really excited to see unfold like in the future as well. So for anybody who hasn't yet read the book or the first book, usually when I do these interviews, they're like, oh, I'll like read it, and like, definitely you guys should. Can you say tell them what the first book is about, like Dragon Mountain, what that's about?
And we're like, we'll tell you about our book and not just weirdly about my brother marrying Cat Doyle. Yeah, we'll actually talk about our book.
Yeah, so Dragon Mountain centers on 4 kids from all around the world, and they're going to a summer camp in China, and they accidentally open a big mountain behind the camp, and surprise, surprise, there are 4 warrior dragons inside the mountain, and so the dragons need their help. It's obviously an end of the world situation.
They need their help defeating the evil dragon of death, who's very dastardly, hard to beat, I'll tell you. And we're really excited to do an ensemble cast. We wanted to stay away from the chosen one trope. And one of the things that we wanted to come up with, and it's the reason these 4 kids are able to open the mountain is how they work together. And it's their friendship as a whole. And that was something that we really wanted to highlight. And, I love a chosen one trope. I'm not hating on the chosen one trope. But I just thought there was something special about being like each child bringing something different to the table. And that was what was able to open the mountain. And that's just the setup for book 1. But what's nice is kind of the values and the skills that we instilled in each of those kids. That really has become a huge part of their character and their character arc and the dragon that they each bond with. As I'm sure each child does, slight spoiler, bond with a different dragon, which was so exciting and fun to write. And then those relationships are hugely important through the series.
Yeah, I definitely. Just to expand on it a little bit, like, I mean, so what I also loved about writing book 1 is that each character, they have their own characteristics that make them special, and actually it's those characteristics that make them who they are, and they should be proud of that. And they really focus in on what makes them them, and actually that's what they bring to the team. Yeah. And together they're stronger.
Not just the characters as well, but the dragons too. Like, I mean, they are characters. Like, yeah, they're all characters. But yeah, you have the kids, and then you do have the 4 dragons. And yeah, what's really interesting about the first book is that it's very action packed. It's quite exciting because so much happens. And it kind of happens in like almost a short amount of time, which I feel like keeps the pace like so high and so fast paced. So when you first sat down to think, oh, like, I don't know, like, did the idea come to you thinking of the story first, or maybe like, did one of you guys have an idea for like a specific character, or like, how did it all come to fruition?
Yeah,
Katie actually came up with the idea first. She kind of woke up in the morning. She said, "I have a great idea."
Yeah, genuinely, I literally, like, and it sounds like such. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want us to write about dragons. And what I wanted, and there obviously are, like I said, so many books about dragons. And, you know, we were very lucky to, you know, you look at like Cresta Cowell and How to Train Your Dragon. And, you know, it's a wonderful, rich heritage. But, and at the time, I couldn't think of any books that were set in modern time with dragons. And while our series does jump around a bit, small spoiler for book 2, they do go into the ancient past, which is a lot of fun. And book 3 is set way, way in the future. I hadn't seen it with kind of for modern day kids, and we wanted to explore that. Can you go get Bert? And then we also wanted to do. Our daughter's now imitating some monkeys. It's, you know.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
We also wanted to do, like I said, an ensemble cast, and Kevin's family is from Hong Kong. And China and Asia has a really rich mythology around dragons. And we wanted to explore that and kind of combine Eastern and Western mythologies around dragon, and also add our own spin. It's interesting. Sometimes we'll hear reviews, people will be like, so is that based on a specific legend? And I'm like, no, we just made that part up. But a lot of it is drawn on, especially in book 1 and 2, a lot of it is drawn on, we did loads of research into Chinese myths and legends around dragons, and just Chinese myths and legends in general. So peaches feature heavily in Dragon Mountain. In the Magic Dragon realm, there are loads and loads of peach trees. And that's because peaches play a really big part in Chinese myth and legend of being...
Peach.
Yeah. When she really wants something, she'll say, it's funny because I'm like, oh, where did you learn to go? Kevin! It's from
So that's what I can do. If I want something, I just shout, Kevin!
Yeah, come running. So we wanted to incorporate that as well. And there's a lot of little things. So for people who do know their Chinese myths and legends really well, they'll pick up on more of it. But also a lot of it, we just, you know, tried to further develop and put our own spin on. And of course, as the series develops, you know, it takes on more and more of its own world.
It's true. I agree with everything.
Yeah, I second that. Ditto. Well, you mentioned so much about research then. Did you find that as you were writing the books, the first and the second book, that maybe you had a set idea for the story based on your research? And then did you think like maybe it didn't really fit into your vision that you ended up divulging from that? Like, was the story a natural progression, or did it change a lot?
It's interesting. I think broadly speaking, our stories do follow the same heart. In terms of research, we did a lot of research on Forbidden Palace and
spoiler too. Yeah,
sorry.
You go the Great Wall might feature in book 2, and yeah, the Forbidden City. But we also want get that from her. One of the our daughter says an uncanny. We have 9 million toys everywhere, and she just reached up for something sharp. It's crazy.
Oh gosh.
One of the things we do a lot of research on when we were writing about our dragons, and we still do, we watched a lot of nature documentaries to see how different animals move. Because when you're describing dragons, while they are, you know, not real animals, you know, they have wings and necks and jaws. So we would watch and be like, ooh, look how a bat wing flaps, or look how like a certain animal moves their neck. So we could use that to make the way we describe the dragons moving. Can you get that too?
I love it because I can get that. You're gonna have nothing left in the room. It's gonna be nothing.
To make it seem accurate. And there's also in book 2, there's a giant fish that was inspired by watching some of David, some of Our Planet, and watching some of the really cool kind of deep sea weird creatures. And we were like, we want to do something inspired by that fish.
That was my favorite research. I love watching all those nature shows. There's just the most interesting things that you find in nature. And so it was really cool bringing some of that Dragon Legend.
Speaking about the giant fish in Dragon Legend, some of my favorite parts, like I'll not spoil anything for anyone, but there are parts with a giant fish, and I absolutely loved the way that it was incorporated into it, and just the way it happened. It was so good. And yeah, oh god, like the world in Dragon Legend is just incredible. I still want to talk about Dragon Mountain first, though. I'm not done with that one yet. But like, it's so easy for me to just like jump around. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to like keep up with my chaoticness as well as an interviewer.
Is this your most chaotic interview yet?
It might be.
And I love it. I love it. I love it so much. I want to do more like this. So when Dragon City comes out, it's going to be me, Katie, Kevin, and Evie. It's happening. So who is your, like, for both of you, who are your favorite characters to write? And also, can I ask, is Dylan inspired by Catherine Doyle? Just like a little bit.
So Dylan, for anyone who doesn't know, Dylan is, so the 4 kids are not only are they an ensemble cast, each one is from a different place. Billy Chan, who's kind of the character that we see the most of the book from, he is dual heritage, Chinese and white, and he's from California. And he is sent to this camp in China to kind of get in touch with his Chinese roots. Dylan O'Donnell is from Galway and was in...
Evie's tromping around with this look on her face. Nothing is safe. And she's like, she's like on
Wreck-It Ralph.
Wreck-It Ralph. Oh my gosh. Yes. Wreck it. No, don't wreck it, Evie. Sorry, I shouldn't be encouraging her.
They just like grab, unplug the laptop. It's all we're like a birth control commercial right now. Really hard, everyone. No, we love our daughter, obviously. But yeah, Dylan O'Donnell is from Galway, Ireland, and that was in part inspired by Cat Doyle. And she actually was our Irish sensitivity reader, which is fun. And then Liu Ling Fei is from China, and she's a local girl. So when they go to the camp. And then Charlotte Bell is from Atlanta, Georgia. And Kevin's, his family is from Hong Kong originally, but he actually grew up in outside of Atlanta. So he knows Atlanta, and I lived there for a year. So we know Atlanta very well. I do feel bad, though, because we didn't realize when we were writing, those are 4 very different accents. And God bless our audiobook narrator, who, like, probably was like, what am I doing with this? His name's Kevin Shen, and he's perfect. He's Chinese American, and so he can do the accents when because there's sometimes some actual Chinese in the books. He does that perfectly, and he also lived in California, so he's got Billy's perfectly, and then he has to switch to an Irish accent, to a Southern accent, to a Chinese accent, and then we also have 4 dragons who all have various different accents. And Kevin and I are in the process of drafting book 4 right now. And we're introducing 2 new characters, including one from London, a boy from London. So then we're just throwing more accents at our audiobook narrator.
Oh, if you need a Geordie character or like a Geordie sensitivity reader, I'm there. I would also love to hear that in an audiobook too. I'd love, I read all of these physically. I'd love to listen to that audiobook. It sounds incredible. He does
a fantastic job. He's real. And what's nice to think about a middle grade audiobook is it's not like a million hours long.
Yes. And they have special effects. Like you can hear the sound effects and things. That's usually always awesome. Also, I just want to highlight.
Wait till you hear how he does the giant fish's voice. It's very cool.
Oh my God, I can't wait. I'm going to have to reread Dragon Legend as soon as it comes out then. I've literally just finished it. I'm going to have to reread it. I just want to highlight a couple of comments. Can't wait to read it, Love Dragons. You'll love this one then. And can't wait to get my boys the series. Honestly, like, this is such a great one. Like, obviously, like, I don't ever, like, try to gender, like, books or anything. So, like, when I'm recommending in store, I don't ever pay attention to, am I recommending to a girl? Am I recommending to a boy? But I do find, like, this one to be such an easy one to recommend for boys, like, when they come in. Because there's a lot that's maybe not as tailored toward them, like a lot of them have like set ideas about what they like in a book.
There's a lot of whimsy in middle grade, and I love whimsy, and I love that's not. But I do think and one thing that Kevin and I try to do with these books is we're not just competing with other books; we're competing with video games, with the Avengers series. So we really anime shows. So we try to make the books as exciting as that. So that's why it's very action paced. Lots going on. So that means a lot. And again, we try to make it equally appealing for, boys and girls and any non-binary kids as well, like by having, a real diverse group of kids. So hopefully everyone can see maybe part of them in one of the characters, if not all of them.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I definitely, out of all the characters, who would I say I'm most like? I probably Dylan too. Yeah, I would probably say Dylan because I can be like a little bit silly, and like I like to use like humor in things in like everything. So I feel like that's why I love Dylan and Buttons. And speaking of characters, now that I have you back, I do want to play a little game. I do want to play.
Kevin loves writing Dylan. He was actually just saying earlier how much he loves writing Dylan because
Dylan's
Dylan's funny.
I like his like sarcasm. He's also got like sometimes a little bit of a pessimistic view, which is fun to write from my perspective.
Well, this will be perfect for you because I feel like it's kind of a little bit like a quotes game. So like I wanted to see if you guys can remember who said what. Also, I would love to know because I mean, Katie, you said that you write more dialogue a lot of the time. So, but I can imagine Kev also writes a lot of dialogue too sometimes. So
for his scenes he'll do. Although occasionally Kevin will be like, we'll be writing an action scene and then he'll be like, Charlotte says something. No, Katie. I'm like, Kevin.
Katie's much better at the scenes that need a little emotional punch. So those are generally the scenes where there has to be like a very meaningful exchange.
Yeah, where we're like, we want to make you feel things.
I can do it, but Katie just does it so much better. So much, you should definitely.
That's nice.
It'll be interesting then to see if you can get which character said what, but two, to see who wrote it. Like if you guys remember who wrote it. So I mean, I feel like some of these they'll probably be a little bit easy for you guys, but like I wanted a little bit of a challenge. So the first one is, let's see, round one. This one's probably easy. I guess you're not as Chinese as your name suggests, Billy Chan.
Remember who said that? Who's one of our antagonists at summer camp. JJ is definitely kind of your typical kind of he's a little bit older than the rest of the kids at camp. He thinks he's too cool. And the context for this quote is Billy is feeling a little embarrassed because his Mandarin isn't great, and JJ is kind of mocking him for that.
Yeah, and just that was I had some of that experience in terms of like growing up. So it was a bit of I definitely had a JJ in my life.
Yeah, inspired by that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's because it does happen straight. In fact, actually, I want to like pause this game for just a second because one of the things I feel like is like super, super important in this series, and like especially with like what's happening in the world at the minute as well, is that like Asian representation is like I feel like is so important in middle grade. And you guys, obviously, Billy is like such a strong character. He's a great protagonist. But also you had Sam Wu as well in the earlier series. So like you guys have a tendency to write really strong main characters who are Asian, but like they are main characters. They're not just side characters, they're main characters. And I feel like people get that representation that they otherwise wouldn't really get, especially in middle grade. So like how important is it to you guys to actually have that kind of representation in your books and to actually be able to, when a kid reads it, they'll be like, oh my God, I see myself like in this story.
Yeah, super important. Really, really important. I mean, it's part of the reason why I love writing with Katie and love writing in general is just to get that story out there. And it's deliberate that our leads are Asian. It's something that we feel there should be, or I feel there should be more of. I would have loved to read more books with Asian leads. And I think part of it too, though, is just writing a book with an Asian lead that isn't all about the character being Asian as well. I mean, there's definitely a place for that in stories. And, maybe I will write a story like that later on. But for these stories, it's just a really fun adventure where, the main character happens to be Asian.
Yeah, I am not Asian. But obviously Kevin is, and it's, very important to me for my family. And just as a, human in the world who wants to see more representation in children's literature. But it's, one of the reasons why I think it's so nice that we co-author, because we're getting that authenticness. Because even though there's so much about Asian culture that's very close to my life, it's not my own lived experience. So I feel very lucky that we're able to put, accurate depictions in the books. And that was definitely a lot of the inspiration for Sam Wu. And as Kevin said, but we didn't want it to be, Sam just is Chinese. His family life is Chinese. He eats Chinese food at home. But it's not like about that. He's just a kid facing fears. And Dragon Mountain is, because like I said, we took a lot of inspiration from Chinese myths and legends, but because they're awesome and exciting. But that's, we want any child to be able to come to these books and be able to enjoy them. And Billy definitely explores some of his heritage and how he feels, especially being dual heritage. And again, kind of the difference between someone like Billy and someone like Ling Fei, who lives in China, speaks Chinese fluently, and English is her second language. Those are different experiences. So that's, we wanted to show that there's a variety of ways to be even Chinese within the text. And again, so like I said, one of the new kids in book 4 is Black British character, and then we're also introducing another girl who's dual heritage, Chinese and white, because we were like, well, you can have more than one. It's not like it has to be Billy's sister or something. Like, you can have multiple characters who are Chinese who are dual heritage in the same group. So that
really important.
Yeah.
And obviously Evie, when she grows up, I want her to read books that she can see herself in, and so it is just really important.
Your baby dragon, and like I love that as well because like like as you say, like it doesn't like inform the story. I feel like why I used this quote for my very first one was that, I mean, I've gone off it now, but let's see if I can, the reason I use that is mainly because you do make it explicit that he is dual heritage, like from the very beginning, and like I love that. Like you don't like make it all about that later on in the series, but you do start off with like this is who Billy is. And he's like really proud of that. Like, he's getting teased by JJ because he doesn't know Mandarin. But it's like, this is like Billy's journey. And this is just the beginning. And I love that. I love that you made it explicit from the start. But I just really wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, of course. I was just going to say, just specifically for Billy, I think there's times where any kid just doesn't feel like they fit in, right? And there's always that scenario. And I suppose, for Billy, it's just, sometimes he probably is a little self-conscious about, being Chinese, but also not being perceived as Chinese, and is he Chinese enough? Something certainly I had, growing up in Atlanta in the U.S. And so, we brought some of that in, but I think it's in terms of the experience that Billy has and the feelings he has, I think some of that is universal.
Yeah.
100%. Okay, I'll get back to the game. I just really wanted to pick your brain about that. Okay, so it was JJ. Round 2. Billy, I should probably tell you I snore.
That's definitely
Dylan O'Donnell.
I'm not like Dylan at all. I don't snore, or at least I pretend I don't. But I would never. If I was bunking with someone like Dylan and Billy, at this point, I would not tell my bunkmate who like if I snored or not, or like if I sleptwalked. I would just like let them find out themselves. I don't even know if sleptwalked is correct. Never mind. Round three. Hopefully we won't be the only ones the earthquake knocked off course. Get it? Knocked off course because it almost knocked us over.
I think that's Charlotte. Do you think it's Dylan? I think it's Charlotte.
It's either Charlotte or Dylan.
But you got to choose one.
I feel like it's Charlotte because we already had a Dylan. But I would have said Dylan.
I feel like it's Charlotte because Dylan is funnier than Charlotte, but Charlotte thinks she's very funny.
Okay, you're right. It's Charlotte.
Oh. I love that you went 100% Char on this one, but yes, it is Charlotte. It is definitely Charlotte. And Charlotte does have moments where she's like, like she comes across with a joke or something, and maybe it's just like not that funny, but like to me, it's probably one of the most funniest things because I love like when my niece tries to be funny. Like she is not funny whatsoever, but I laugh anyway because it is funny in a way. Yeah, Charlotte just reminds me of my niece, to be honest.
We wanted to do where Charlotte came from. We wanted to have a really confident girl character, and Charlotte is physically the strongest. But she loves dresses. She participates in pageants, but she also is a jiu-jitsu champion. And we kind of wanted to play with that idea of, a lot of times in YA middle grade, you get a lot of tomboys and they're tomboys across the way, which is totally excellent. A lot of girls are like that. But also I was like, you can be tough and like dresses. Both of those things exist at the same time. And so that was kind of where Charlotte's genesis came from. Just is super confident, borderline a little cocky, quite bossy, thinks she's funny. And just, again, bringing in those different personality tropes was so much fun to kind of explore with the characters. But Charlotte's super fun to write. We love her.
Oh my god, I love this game now because it means that I can learn so much more about the characters, like just from these anecdotes. I love that. Yeah. So the next one, there's only 7 rounds. I know you want more, but I can only give you so much. You'll find that Shing is like a melon, hard exterior protecting soft insides.
That's buttons. Yes.
Oh my gosh, how do you know that? I felt like that was a bit more of a not exactly a random one, but it does come at actually.
Yeah. We know these characters so well.
Especially because Buttons is the one that always has to translate the different dragons to humans. Because Buttons is the most human of the dragons, which he's very proud of.
But he's not human at all, but he just likes humans the most.
Yeah, he's very defensive of his clan, and wouldn't want the kids to misinterpret.
You're okay. Our daughter's just joking.
Is Evie okay? Yeah.
Why go down the wrong pipe? You're okay. She's like, just stop ignoring me, parents over here. So Buttons. I mean, they're all. I know we keep saying, "Oh, that character's so fun to write," but what's so fun about writing, basically with 8 characters, because we have the 4 kids and 4 dragons, is you never get bored. And, you know, you'll be like, oh, Dylan would have a funny line here. Lingfei would have some interesting insight. Shing would be sassy. Buttons would be, there's just so much to explore.
Yeah. And it's interesting how they play off each other.
Yeah.
Because obviously a lot of relationships there.
And yeah, not just like play off each other, but the way that they can come together, like it's not an easy thing for them to do. And again, like I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but it's just like their dynamic and to see how they would tackle a situation together, because they're all new friends as well in Dragon Mountain. Like they didn't know each other previously. So it's like, how do you like, I wouldn't even know what to do if I was sent to like a camp in the middle of nowhere and then come across 4 legendary dragons with 3 strangers. Like, what? It's like, that's one of the reasons why I love a series, is because you just don't know what you're getting with the characters. Okay, so yeah, you got that one. Let's see. The bond is just the beginning.
Ooh, Tank or Shing?
I think
Tank.
I think
Tank.
I think it's Tank too.
Oh my gosh, yes, it is Tank, yes. And this was literally right after they bonded, which I don't think is really a spoiler in the chat, guys, because I'm sure I've mentioned this lots of times on my channel as well. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Okay, round 6. My priorities have... Sorry?
Oh, no. I was just going to say Tank was always the very serious ones.
Serious. I imagine him voiced by Idris Elba. That would be my dream. Yeah, my dream. Right? Yeah, your face.
Oh my God, yes. Whenever I read this book, like, again, like even with the audiobook narrator, I'm going to think, that's Idris Elba. Yeah, 100%. Oh my gosh, yeah.
One day. Ooh, I know this one. You know this one?
Yeah. This
my
is
priorities have changed. It's Demetrius.
Yes, like literally, like that is like so dramatic. Like there are quite a few like villainous characters in this series too. Like we have the Dragon of Death, we have Demetrius, and just there's just so many great angles to look at it. You have really great, strong main characters who are good, and some really strong evil characters. And I don't know which ones I prefer to read about, because I love, I'm kind of a sucker for villains sometimes as well, and yeah, it must be fun to write them.
Very fun to write. Really fun to write. A small spoiler for book 3, the Dragon of Death really comes into her own, and she's super fun to write. She's a real showstopper, bit of a diva.
Also really glam. So glam.
Very glam, as glam as an evil dragon can be.
Oh my gosh. Played by Gavin Hetherington, yes. Love it. And then the last quote is, "And my life with more than 3 pork buns, I hope."
I think that's...
Where is this from?
And that's from... I think that's when they're negotiating with someone. I think that it's Billy.
Yeah, it's
Billy. Billy saying is it's Billy.
You know what? I feel like sometimes my face betrays it when Katie says who it is, because it's Billy. And
Billy is a little bit sometimes, even though it's an ensemble cast, the story is told a little bit through Billy's eyes, and he sometimes has main character syndrome, where I feel like the other characters get all the best lines, and Billy is the one. So that one, like, we had to think context. That's what you need. Billy's the one who is driving the story, but our side character, not side characters, because they're all key characters for us, but are so vibrant and fun to write, and we're like, all right, let's give Billy a fun line here and then too.
I know, I love that, because I'm always a sucker for side characters, especially when they have great one-liners. Like Dylan, he has so many great one-liners. When I was going through the book picking out quotes, honestly, I could have filled them all with Dylan quotes. I really could. Or Charlotte, like Charlotte sometimes comes out with some. Yeah, I can imagine. Like,
thank you
so
for
many
going
singing.
Using such great quotes. Appreciate it.
Oh,
I think
there's just so many.
Yeah, my favorite lines are probably in the book from Shing, and also Charlotte has some great one-liners.
Yeah. Well, we'll play that.
About Charlotte loving crabs. That I love.
I love that. I was going to do quotes from Dragon Legend, but it's not out yet, so that would have been pretty naughty of me. So we'll have to play it again. So now, like, I know we can't really talk too much about Dragon Legend, especially since it's not even out yet. So, like, probably some of this is going to be a little bit vague. Like, it's probably going to be a bit vague, but can you tell us anything about book 2 at all? So, like, for us fans like me, I've read it, but like, can you tell me like what I can look forward to in book 2? Book 1, I do want to tell people as well, ends with a huge cliffhanger, and I mean, it doesn't like. it happens a little bit before the very end, but something happens, and I was shooketh. But yeah,
Well,
for
what's
anybody,
the books
yeah.
come out every 6 months. They're on an accelerated
That's
publication schedule, so we don't feel that bad about the cliffhanger. We have to wait a whole year. And then also there's always a sneak peek of the next book at the back of the next one. So Dragon Legend, as we said a little bit, you do get to go to ancient China. Won't explain how or why. So the Great Wall features and Imperial China. Other than that, it's almost predominantly set in the magical dragon realm. But basically, one of the 4 kids has been taken by one of our baddies, and the other 3 have to find them. And I think that's got anything else to add?
Wow, you said more than I would say. I think it is on the cover. It is on the back. It is on the back. Don't read the back. You want to know more. I think Dragon Legend was so much fun to write because so much of it is in Dragon realm. Like we could make anything happen. There were no rules. That's why I loved that aspect of writing Dragon.
Kevin let his imagination go absolutely bananas in a really good way. And I think, like I was saying, it's so fun about middle grade and using things like TV shows and anime as your pacing pony. We were like, literally, we'd be like, would that work? And I'd be like, would it work in like a Power Rangers episode? Yes. Oh. All right, we can make it work too. Really. And the kids just have such exciting adventures. And this book was also really fun to write because it's a quintessential quest. Like, they're trying to rescue their friend, and they're also trying to find these 8 magical pearls. So that gives the story a structure in a really satisfying way. And as you said, in book 1, the 4 kids don't really know each other, but by book 2, they do. And so it's just so easy to go into like, oh, that's so Dylan, that's so Charlotte.
Yeah, I think the other thing with Dragon Legend is there is a cliffhanger at the end of book 1, but that means book 2 is full throttle. You're right into the action, and the whole thing we hope is very exciting.
Well, I would argue that book 1 was pretty full throttle as well, because you do it just like starts pretty much straight away. Like, you're only a few chapters in, and already the story's just like full steam ahead. So like, literally, if I was to say anything about like, if I had to describe the Dragon Realm series so far in 2 words, it would be not boring, because there is literally not one single boring part in it. You're constantly like this story. And so was writing book 2 harder than book 1, because it's totally like different almost, because you do get to see more magical elements of this world, and it's definitely a lot more fantastical, but also real world issues as well, like with the pandemic. Like, was it harder to write book 2 than book 1?
I found actually book 1 for me personally harder to write, just because book 1 we were setting the foundation for an entire series, whereas book 2 we had a lot of the frame, and we knew the characters, and we were having fun with the characters at that point. But it definitely had its own challenges.
And we'd already knew what was happening in book 3, so we knew where we were coming from, and we knew where we were going. Of course, you never want book 2 to feel like that weak link in the middle. Sometimes second book syndrome, we wanted it to feel like it's a standalone. I will say books 1, 2, and 3, you need to read in that order. I would recommend. We're writing books 4 and 5 that you could start with 4. It still centers around the same characters, but just 5 books is a big ask for kids. So you could start with 4. You'd enjoy it more if you did 1, 2, and 3. But yeah, so kind of like two ways of going into the story. I found writing Dragon Legend super fun, like Kev said. And we didn't draft it during pandemic, just because we had to write. It was right
before pandemic.
Right before pandemic, yeah. And it has been, I think, the hardest thing for us is finding time. Kevin has a very full-on day job. I'm going to brag about you. He, speaking of pandemic, his day job, he worked with the NHS on setting up the testing centers for COVID. And I think the first 4 months of COVID, he had literally not a single day off, which was really.
I did work every day in March and April last year.
Yeah, it was crazy. And he's still working a ton. And so, seeing a lot of what's happening in terms of like the labs, the testing, and everything going on. So that's been pretty, we couldn't really be like, hey, COVID labs, can you pause? We have to write about some dragons. So finding time, and we obviously have a very full-on child. So
she sounds like a dream, honestly. Like, you would not have a single boring day. You're conjuring up stories about dragons, and you're also looking at Evie, who like is literally just sounds like so entertaining. Like, she must entertain you guys all the time.
It's funny when Dragon Mountain came out, Evie was dressed as a dragon. I have to say, 5 out of 6.
Yeah, we were just constantly putting her in a dragon costume, which was fun. the books are just joyful, and I'm a really big believer that if you're having fun in the writing, it comes through. So we hope that comes through for our readers.
100%. And I loved exploring like the Forgotten Sea and like the Frozen Wasteland of the second book. There's just like, it does open up to so much more. And like even just like the descriptions are just like so lush as well. Like when you see like the rainbow fish in this, like, again, this is not spoiler, these are just details, okay? But like, there's rainbow fish. And honestly, as soon as I saw them, I just screamed gay rights, but you know, that's neither general there. What I just love the fact that this world is building and building and building. Is that trick? Because even though this is a fun and imaginative series, are you finding that you're going to have to keep to like some world rules? And how are you like keeping like a fantasy world like this grounded in that kind of like a series that's like so like wild and imaginative? How are you keeping it grounded?
I think more than anything, we're always like, so what do we do next? Because we'll throw all of our best ideas at that time into a book, and then we're like, all right, next one. We got to ramp it up even more. But I think in a weird way, because the publication is so accelerated, everything's so fresh in our heads. So like we know what we've just written, and so we know how we can. You're singing. She's singing the Winnie the Pooh song. You're doing a very good job singing.
I think for us, like what was nice is in terms of book 1, 2, and 3. Book 1's mostly in the present. Book 2's in the past. Book 3's in the future. And I think within each one, then we have a really contained setting that we can play in. And actually, we know by the end of the book, they're in a different setting and there's a different set of rules. So what's nice is then, because we know we're only going to be in that setting for one book, we can give it everything we have. And then I suppose the rules might change potentially if you go to a different setting. And so for me, at least, when we were world building, it was nice to have that distinction and know that, you know, we should throw everything in here because this is the only time we're going to spend in this particular place and time.
And I think too is we definitely back reference things often. Like we'll be like, because sometimes we'll have one of the dragons be like, "This is an unbreakable dragon rule," and then in book 2 we're like, "Oh man, we got it now. We can't. That's the dragon rule. We can't break it." We did kind of a funny thing where, you're jumping on the table. We did literally. She's shaking the table.
That's my fun thing to do. That's what I usually do on a Friday night when I'm not interviewing authors. I shake tables.
Evie, can you say hello? Hello.
Hi, Evie again. It's me.
Evie, what does the dragon say? Right. Yeah. Now quiet. But one thing that we did kind of get ourselves stuck in is, and this is a small spoiler, but one of the key things in dragon bonding is your human counterpart giving you a name. And we were like, you can't have a name unless you have a dragon bond. And then we wanted to introduce other dragons who didn't have humans, and we were like, how are we gonna? So we did have to figure out a workaround for that.
I see. Also sounds like really fun that you were you with like some editors as well recently, where you guys were just like talking nonstop just about like dragons. Like that must be so fun to just like have a job where you can literally just talk to professionals, industry professionals about dragons and all of that. So that's like
because our editor, one of our editors at Simon & Schuster, is literally the MD of Simon & Schuster Children's. And she's like, you know, an incredible businesswoman and, you know, top of her game. And she'll be like, so let's discuss the logistics of this dragon battle. And I'm like, this is so funny that we're like taking your very valuable time to discuss the logistics of a dragon battle. We love our editors though.
Yeah. And I know this is about Dragon Legend predominantly, but book 3 to Dragon City.
Oh yeah. This is the first time we're saying the name of it. She's totally because the book comes out next week. Let's say in the back. So book 3 is dun 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 Dragon City.
We got an exclusive. Yes. This is what I've always wanted. I've always wanted an exclusive.
You got it. You got a Bananas toddler and an exclusive all in one.
Bananas authors, banana toddler. Honestly, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it for the world.
We're being every so yeah, Dragon City though, we had so many more dragons in Dragon City. I absolutely loved me and Katie sitting down saying, we need to create a new dragon, don't we? And seeing like, well, what's the dragon going to be like? It's just, we had so much fun.
Creating the dragons is so fun. And actually what we do, we do a lot of school visits. And one of the interactive activities we do is creating a dragon. For anyone watching who has young kids or kids who read the books, I would recommend trying this as a kind of a fun activity, is saying, what would your dragon look like? And again, take inspiration from nature. What would they look like? What color would they be? What power would they have? And we were doing this with a group of kids, And we came up with a really cool dragon. We were like, we're going to put that dragon in book 3. And we did.
I love that. So if I came up with like a really cool dragon, maybe book 5, maybe, who knows? I let you guys know. And what is the kind of thing that you are most hopeful that kids will take from your series? Is there something that you have kind of always wanted to write in a book series that maybe is different from Samuel, that you want kids to take away from Dragon Mountain and Dragon Legend and Dragon City in book 4 and 5?
I think for me, it was kind of back to the point I made earlier, which is that everyone has their own characteristics that make them special. And that, you shouldn't shy away from what makes you different. Because that is what makes you special.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Kevin always comes in with these like really excellent, like deep thoughts. I'm like, I like dragons.
And dragons.
No, I think for me that I want kids to take away from this is, it's just kind of a playing off what Kevin said as well. Kind of that sounds cheesy, but the power of friendship, because that's for me the core of this book. The kids looking out for each other. The kids being stronger together, more about the sum of, all of them together as a whole versus individually. And I just think that's a great way of thinking.
100%. Like, I wish I had a friendship group like them in the story. And if I had been younger when I read this too, I would have literally went out there and searched for them. I would have searched for, I probably would have searched for a mountain with dragons in as well, to be fair. But just for like the friendship as well. Like, it just, you do say it's one of the highlights of the series is that it does feel like such an organic kind of coming together of different people from different cultures and different worlds, and that they can coexist and go on adventures together, and they can do that. So I love that. I love those answers. So yeah. Well, you mentioned.
So thank you.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. You mentioned, well, both you mentioned, I mean, we can call it by its name, Dragon City. You mentioned that it's been drafted, right? And it's being edited, or it's been edited?
No, Dragon City is, we're almost done. We're almost, we are doing line edits, which is one of the final steps. It's where the editor goes through and is kind of just checking line by line level to make sure everything makes sense, tightening things up. Again, a lot of logistics of, if this dragon is flying out this way and this dragon's flying this way, how does that make sense? Kevin, I'm not spatial at all, which is why Kevin writes all of our action scenes. But he knows exactly. He'll be like, the dragon has flown up this many feet. It's going this way. Do you sit with Mama?
Yeah. Okay, come back here.
Yeah.
I'm jealous now. I want to stay with Mama.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so Dragon is essentially done. We're very excited about it. We're now thinking about book 4, which we don't have time.
Gosh. Oh my gosh, like, yes. So I guess you also said that you could read book 4 as almost as if it was like, and so are you doing like arcs? Is that like a kind of thing? Like maybe you have like an arc?
Yeah, so books 1, 2, and 3 are definitely a full arc, and books 4 and 5 will read as kind of their own thing as well. They're definitely very interlinked. The same kids do feature, but as I said, with some additional characters to add some new excitement. And that's all we can say for now. Yeah, you're telling all of our
No, that's okay. I'm sure I can get more exclusives in the future. Like this can be like the first place where folks can hear some exclusive Dragon Realm news.
I love that.
Dragon Realm TV. Here we come. What is something that you've been really proud of about the series? It might not just be about writing, but maybe like, have you ever had like a fan interaction? Maybe like someone's come up to you and been like, "This story meant so much to me." Like, what's been like the proudest moment that's come from this series?
For me, I love, and this has happened more than once, and I just where someone has said, "Oh, my child, doesn't like reading and actually love this book," and this is like reignited their love of reading. And for me, that's really special. Even if it was just one kid, that made that difference. It's really special.
And it's tricky because this book did come out during the pandemic.
Evie's saying she's just really proud of her parents. That's what it is. That's what she's saying.
Because the book did come out during pandemic, we haven't been able to meet readers as much as we would like. So thank goodness for doing things like this and emails from teachers and parents and booksellers. I'm really proud that it was Waterstone's Book of the Month. That was like such an author dream come true. And, just knowing that it was going to be in all the Waterstones and and seeing the window displays was incredible. And we were so lucky because it did come out in pandemic, but it came out in September when bookstores were open. So we had a lucky shot there. And we're lucky again that when Dragon Legend comes out at the end of this month, bookstores are also open. So you have no excuse, everybody. Gotta go get it.
Exactly. And you know what, as well, I'm always fortunate when a book is made book of the month and I'd already read it because I got the nice shiny proof for it. I was like, oh my gosh, thank goodness. So I can like genuinely like recommend it to people and like push it as much as I did. Like honestly, I think somebody came in for a cookbook. I love me some booksellers and indie booksellers, Waterstones booksellers. They're all amazing.
All the best.
Amazing. All
Can't
the
wait to
best.
get out to all bookstores.
Yeah.
That's actually one of the things I'm most excited for.
Me too.
Yeah. And you guys can come up to like the Northeast. We can do school events together. Yes! It's going to be amazing.
We love that. You'll get to see our person.
I hope so. That's what I'm really after. I'm sorry, guys, but I just really want to meet Evie.
Run around in a dragon.
You can sing Twinkle Twinkle like Little Star all day.
Yeah.
A good job I know the words. This is a good question. Before I ask my last couple, are there any books besides your own that you can't wait to introduce Evie to? Ooh.
For me, she absolutely loves at the moment Winnie the Pooh. Yeah. I didn't realize how many songs were in Winnie the Pooh either, and so I can't wait till we can actually read the stories to her actually in the book. So I'm excited for her to discover this.
Yeah, she has some of the little board books, but yeah, it'll be nice. We bought a really nice edition of the classic one. It's beautiful. So definitely Winnie the Pooh. I'm excited to show her. I just read Rainbow Gray, which features a character inspired by Gav, and I love that.
No way! What? Really? No way!
It's a funny name, and I just thought it was so one. It was a book that when I was like 7, I would have been obsessed with. So I'm really excited for Evie to read that. I'm also excited, for her to read books by, so many people who she like considers kind of her aunties. Like I'm excited for her to read Kat Doyle's books, Anna James, what a cool, she's in loads of acknowledgements, like, which is cool for a baby. So when she gets older, that's really special, I think.
Oh my gosh, she's literally been everywhere for one, and she's like in so many acknowledgements. Seriously, Evie, we're gonna have to have a chat. We're gonna have to have a chat, like how this is happening. So for my international viewers, because I do have a lot of people like in the States and things, Dragon Mountain did come out in the States, I think, was it late last year?
It's in the US, and it came out in, I think, October.
Oh yeah.
More water. Our daughter's just drinking out of a tiny teacup, drinking water. More water.
So classy.
So classy. In the US, it comes out every year. So you get it in hardback, but you have to wait for a year. Or you can order it from Waterstones or Book Depository if you get desperate. It's also published in French and then somewhere else too.
I think Turkish.
Turkish, maybe?
Oh.
I don't know. And it's in Australia as well. In Australia, it comes out every 6 months too.
Oh, well, lucky. Like I don't like sometimes when I look at books that come out in America, I always think that they get the best deal of things. But I think for children's books for middle grade, we actually like look out. I feel like we have the prettier covers. Like I absolutely love the American cover for Dragon Mountain though. Like when I do a UK versus US book cover battle, I'm just like, that's gonna be a hard one to read.
I gotta say, I did love the first one. Can you say please? Good girl. More water, we're very strict about our please and thank yous around here. Clearly not about bedtime, as it's 9 o'clock and we're like, with the baby. Tea party. I actually, moving forward, the US has just decided they're going to be adopting the UK cover editions, but in hardback. So they did different one for the first one, and then I think, are you choking on your water? It's very not COVID friendly. Oh, yeah.
That's better.
Yeah. So anyway,
No, I didn't realize that they're going to get it like Dragon Legend with that beautiful cover that I've got as a background for this chat.
We're not exclusive. We haven't announced that either. So you're getting exclusives all over the place.
Oh, anything else before I ask my final question? Anything else, like exclusive wise? Like what's the take? What is the tea?
What is the tea? Exactly.
Yeah, what is the tea? Evie's drinking it. So last question of the day then is there anything that you guys are working on outside of the Dragon Realm series that you're excited about? I mean, I definitely know Katie's got something coming. Kevin, do you have anything on the way? Or are you like obsessed with dragons at the minute?
I don't know what we can say.
We actually, we are working on something else again in that younger age range and to be continued. So younger than back in the younger age range. So to be continued. We'll share it with you first.
Yeah. Dragon Realm TV.
We're pretty busy with dragons, and then I have got a new YA series coming out next year called Twin Crowns with Catherine Doyle, my sister-in-law and soon-to-be sister-in-law and dear friend, and it is a fantasy adventure rom-com. So we're taking, I love YA fantasy, but a lot of YA fantasy is very serious, which is great. And we wanted it to be really funny. And Kat's one of the funniest people I know. So we had a great time. It's like Princess Bride meets the Princess Switch with like a dash of Game of Thrones.
Okay, I want a proof of that ASAP.
Definitely. It's a lot of fun.
It sounds amazing. It does sound amazing. But yeah, I will also let you guys know in the chat as well. Well, I mean, not that I'm your official reps or anything, but when you do have some like news coming out, especially if guys can pre-order all of that, then yes, of course, I would love to share that with the people watching too and everyone on my channel. That would be awesome. So anyway, that was I think all of my questions. So thank you so much.
Thank you for being so patient with all of our crazy circus life.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to do it again. Let's do it again. Are you free like in 5 minutes?
No, as soon as this, I'm going to go watch Shadow and Bone.
Yeah.
And thank you, Gab, so much. Evie, can you tell Gavin? Can you say thank you? Thank you. Can you say bye-bye? But huge thank you for such amazing, thoughtful questions and being such a fun host and just being such a light in the middle grade children's book world and raising up so many books and hosting these on your Friday night. Really, we're lucky to have you. So thank you.
I'm the lucky one. Thank you so much for doing this. I know I annoy like Kevin, like when I'm hitting Katie's DMs up too much. Like sorry Katie, I'm hitting your DMs up far too much.
I love it. I live for it. It's so good. You can always slide into my DMs. And thank you so much to everyone who watched live, who watches later, and who reads the books. It means a lot.
Yes. Don't forget, everyone watching, pre-order links, or if you're watching this in the future, then the buy links are in the description as well. And thank you so much, Judith. We appreciate you pre-ordering it because yes, it's out on the 29th of April. It's going to be amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. Yes, that beautiful copy coming from Income. But yeah, thanks so much, everyone. Bye, everyone.
Bye.